In the heart of the vast African savanna, nestled between the rolling hills and the winding river, lay the village of Isiama. The village was known far and wide for its lush greenery, abundant wildlife, and the sense of unity among its people. However, what truly set Isiama apart was its princess Zola. She was a figure of mystery and awe, admired by many and known to be fiercely independent. Zola was not like other young women in the village. She was tall and strong, with piercing eyes that seemed to see through to the soul of anyone who dared to meet her gaze. Her skin glowed with a rich dark hue, and her hair, thick and curly, was always adorned with vibrant beads that clicked melodiously as she moved. Despite her beauty, it was her spirit and prowess that captivated the people of Isiama. From a young age, Zola showed a remarkable talent for combat. She was trained by the village's greatest warriors and quickly surpassed them, mastering every weapon she touched. Her favorite was the spear, which she wielded with unmatched skill and grace. Tales of her strength and bravery spread beyond the borders of Isiama, reaching the ears of chiefs and warriors in distant lands. Yet for all her prowess, Zola harbored a secret. It was a secret so profound that she fought with all her might to protect it, fending off every suitor who sought her hand in marriage. The elders of Isiama were perplexed by her refusal to marry, as tradition held that a princess must choose a husband to lead alongside her. But Zola stood firm, her resolve unshakable. Her suitors came from far and wide, each one more determined than the last. They were drawn not only by her beauty, but by the stories of her strength and the challenge she posed. Many sought to prove their worth by defeating her in combat, believing that victory would win her heart. However, none succeeded. Zola defeated each suitor with ease, sending them away with their pride wounded and their dreams shattered. Among the many who sought Zola's hand was a young warrior named Kofi. He was known for his bravery and kindness, and unlike the others, he was not interested in conquering Zola. Instead, he admired her spirit and wished to understand the mystery behind her fierce independence. Kofi watched from afar, observing how she interacted with the villagers and the care she took in her duties as a leader. One day, Kofi decided to approach Zola, not as a suitor, but as a friend. He found her by the river practicing with her spear. As he approached, he called out to her, "Princess Zola, may I join you?" Zola turned to face him, her eyes narrowing slightly. "And who are you to ask such a thing?" she replied, her voice strong and commanding. "My name is Kofi," he said, bowing respectfully. "I have no desire to challenge you. I merely wish to speak with you, to understand you better." Zola studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Very well, Kofi. You may join me, but know this, I trust few, and my secrets are mine to keep." Kofi smiled, grateful for the opportunity. Over the next few days, he accompanied Zola as she trained and went about her duties. He asked her about her life, her dreams, and the burdens she carried as the village's protector. Slowly, Zola began to open up, sharing small glimpses of her thoughts and feelings. One evening, as the sun set over the savannah, Kofi and Zola sat by the river, watching the golden light dance on the water. Kofi turned to her and asked, "Zola, why do you fight so hard to keep everyone at a distance? What is it that you are hiding?" Zola's expression grew serious, and she took a deep breath. "Kofi, there is a secret I have carried all my life, one that could change everything. It is not out of fear that I fight my suitors, but out of necessity. My secret is my strength and my curse." Kofi listened intently, his curiosity piqued. "Whatever it is, Zola, know that you can trust me. I will stand by you, no matter what." Zola looked into his eyes, searching for any sign of deceit. Finding none, she nodded. "Very well, Kofi. I will tell you my secret, but first you must promise me that you will never speak of it to anyone, not even to your closest friends." "I promise," Kofi said solemnly. "Your secret is safe with me." Zola took another deep breath, then began to speak. "Many years ago, when I was just a child, I discovered that I possess a power unlike any other. It is a power that allows me to control the elements, to summon the wind and the rain, to command fire and earth. But with this power comes great responsibility and danger. If it were to fall into the wrong hands, it could bring destruction to our village and beyond." Kofi's eyes widened in amazement. "You have such a gift, Zola. No wonder you are so strong. But why must you keep it a secret?" "Because there are those who would seek to use my power for their own gain," Zola explained. "I have seen the greed and ambition in the eyes of many suitors. They do not seek my hand out of love, but out of a desire to control me and my abilities. That is why I fight them off, to protect my secret and to keep our village safe. Kofi nodded, understanding the weight of her burden. I see now, Zola. You are not just a warrior. You are a guardian of a great power. I will help you in any way I can to keep your secret and to protect our village. Zola smiled, a rare expression of gratitude. Thank you, Kofi. Your support means more to me than you know. As the days passed, Zola and Kofi grew closer, their bond strengthened by the shared secret and their mutual respect. Together, they faced new challenges and threats, always standing side by side. And though the future remained uncertain, Zola knew that with Kofi by her side, she was not alone in her fight to protect her secret and her village. The morning sun rose over Esiama, casting long shadows and bathing the village in a golden light. Zola stood at the edge of the village, her spear in hand, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Kofi approached her quietly, his steps light on the dewy grass. Zola, he began, today the council has called for a meeting. They wish to discuss the future of our village and the persistent threats we face. Zola nodded, her expression serious. I will attend. The safety of Esiama is paramount. The two made their way to the center of the village, where the elders had gathered. The council consisted of wise men and women, each one a pillar of the community. Chief Amara, the head of the council, stood as Zola and Kofi approached. Welcome, Princess Zola, and brave Kofi, Chief Amara greeted them. We have much to discuss. There have been reports of strange occurrences in the neighboring villages, crops failing, livestock disappearing, and whispers of dark forces at work. Zola listened intently, her mind racing. She knew her powers could help, but revealing them was too great a risk. As the council continued to discuss possible solutions, an idea formed in her mind. We must strengthen our defenses and increase our vigilance, Zola suggested. I will lead patrols along our borders and train our warriors to be ever watchful. The elders agreed, and plans were set in motion. Over the next few weeks, Zola and Kofi worked tirelessly, training the villagers and setting up watchtowers. The people of Isiama felt a renewed sense of purpose and unity, bolstered by Zola's leadership and Kofi's unwavering support. One evening, as the two friends took a moment to rest by the river, Zola spoke of her concerns. Kofi, I fear that the darkness we face may be connected to my powers. If anyone discovers the truth, it could bring more danger upon us. Kofi placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We will face it together, Zola. Whatever comes, we will protect our home and keep your secret safe. As they spoke, a sudden rustling in the bushes caught their attention. Zola sprang to her feet, spear at the ready, while Kofi drew his knife. From the shadows emerged an elderly woman, her eyes wide with fear. Help me, she pleaded, her voice trembling. I come from the village of Nkata. Our home is under attack by a mysterious force. We need your aid. Without hesitation, Zola and Kofi agreed to help. They gathered a small group of warriors and set out for Nkata under the cover of darkness. The journey was treacherous, the path winding through dense forests and across rocky terrain. When they arrived at Nkata, they found the village in ruins. Houses were burned and the fields lay barren. The few villagers who remained huddled together, their faces etched with despair. Zola approached the village chief, an elderly man named Jabari. Chief Jabari, we are here to help. Tell us what happened, Zola urged. Jabari sighed deeply. It began with whispers in the night, shadows moving in the darkness. Then our crops withered and our livestock vanished. We tried to fight, but the enemy is unseen and powerful. Zola's heart ached for the suffering of these people. She knew she had to do something, but using her powers openly was too dangerous. Instead, she devised a plan to lure the mysterious force into the open. We will set a trap, she announced. We will light fires around the village to force our enemy into the light. Then we will strike. The villagers and warriors worked quickly, setting up the fires as Zola instructed. As night fell, the fires blazed brightly, casting eerie shadows across the village. Zola and Kofi stood ready, their senses heightened. Hours passed, and just when it seemed the plan had failed, a chilling wind swept through the village, extinguishing the fires. From the darkness emerged a figure cloaked in shadows, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. Zola felt a surge of fear but stood her ground. Show yourself, she commanded. The figure laughed, a sound like nails on a chalkboard. Foolish girl, you cannot defeat me. I am the spirit of the dark forest and I will consume everything you hold dear. Zola tightened her grip on her spear. We will see about that. With a battle cry, she charged at the spirit, Kofi and the warriors following close behind. The fight was intense, the spirit's dark power clashing with Zola's determination and skill. As they battled, Zola realized that the spirit was drawn to her, sensing the hidden power within her. Desperate, Zola called upon the elements, summoning a gust of wind to drive the spirit back. The spirit hissed in anger, its form flickering. Seeing her opportunity, Zola raised her spear and struck with all her might, piercing the spirit's heart. With a final agonized scream, the spirit dissipated into the night. The village of Nkata was saved, and the villagers cheered, grateful for their deliverance. Zola, however, felt a weight settle on her shoulders. She had used her powers, albeit briefly, and the risk of discovery loomed larger than ever. As they returned to Esiama, Kofi spoke softly. "You did what you had to do, Zola. The village is safe because of you." "I know," Zola replied, her voice heavy with exhaustion. "But each time I use my powers, the danger grows. We must be more vigilant than ever." Kofi nodded in agreement. "We will protect your secret and our village, no matter the cost." And so, Zola and Kofi continued their vigilant watch over Esiama, aware that the threats were far from over and that their true battle had only just begun. Under the canopy of the night sky, Zola sat by the flickering flames of a small fire, her thoughts racing. The events in Nkata had left her with an unease she couldn't shake. She was aware that the spirit's words hinted at a greater danger lurking in the shadows. Kofi approached, his face illuminated by the firelight. "We need to strengthen our alliances," he suggested, breaking the silence. "If there are other forces like the Dark Spirit, we cannot face them alone." Zola nodded. "You're right. We must seek the counsel of the Orunmila, the wise seers of the north. Their knowledge of the spirit world could provide the guidance we need." The next day, Zola and Kofi prepared for their journey to the Orunmila's sanctuary. They gathered supplies and selected a small group of trusted warriors to accompany them. The path to the seers was treacherous, winding through dense forests and across perilous cliffs, but they were determined. As they traveled, the group encountered various challenges. They crossed rivers swollen with recent rains and faced wild beasts that roamed the forest. Zola's leadership and combat skills proved invaluable, guiding them through each obstacle with courage and precision. One evening, as they made camp, an elderly man appeared at the edge of their firelight. His eyes, though old, sparkled with wisdom. "I am Afolabi, a guide of the Orunmila. I have been sent to lead you safely to the sanctuary." Zola and Kofi welcomed him, grateful for the unexpected assistance. Under Afolabi's guidance, the journey became smoother. He knew the safest paths and the secrets of the forest, sharing stories of the land and its ancient spirits. After several days, they arrived at the sanctuary of the Orunmila. It was a place of tranquility, hidden within a grove of ancient baobab trees. The seers, dressed in flowing robes of white and adorned with beads and feathers, awaited them. The leader of the seers, a woman named Adesina, stepped forward. "Welcome, Zola of Esiama. We have seen your struggles and the dark force you have encountered. You seek knowledge, and we shall provide it." Zola bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Adesina. We need to understand the nature of these dark forces and how to combat them." Adesina led them to a circle of stones, where they sat in a meditative stance. She began to chant, calling upon the spirits of the ancestors. The air grew thick with energy, and visions began to form in the fire at the center of the circle. The seers spoke of an ancient evil, a spirit of chaos and darkness that had been imprisoned long ago. This spirit, known as Ekwensu, sought to break free and wreak havoc upon the world. The dark spirit that attacked Nkata was but a fragment of Ekwensu's power, a harbinger of the chaos to come. Zola listened intently, absorbing the gravity of the situation. "How can we stop Ekwensu from escaping?" she asked. Adesina's eyes met hers, filled with both wisdom and concern. "To prevent Ekwensu's return, you must find the 3 sacred relics of our ancestors. These relics hold the power to strengthen the barrier that imprisons Ekwensu. The first relic is the shield of Ogun, hidden in the mountains to the east. The second is the staff of Orun, located in the depths of the great forest. The third is the mask of Olokun, resting in the underwater caves of the western sea." Zola felt the weight of the task ahead. "We will find these relics and ensure Ekwensu remains imprisoned." Adesina nodded. "Be cautious, for others seek these relics as well with the intent to free Ekwensu. Trust in your strength and the bond you share with your allies. With renewed determination, Zola, Kofi, and their group set out from the sanctuary, their mission clear. They journeyed eastward towards the mountains, the first destination on their quest. The path to the mountains was arduous, filled with steep climbs and treacherous terrain. As they ascended, the air grew thin and cold, but they pressed on, driven by their purpose. Along the way, they encountered a band of rogue warriors, mercenaries hired to find the relics for their own gain. A fierce battle ensued, with Zola and Kofi leading their warriors against the rogues. The clash of weapons echoed through the mountains, and the air was filled with the sounds of combat. Zola fought with a fury and grace that left her enemies in awe, her spear a blur of motion. Despite their fierce resistance, the mercenaries were no match for Zola's prowess and the determination of her companions. They were driven back, fleeing into the wilderness. Zola and her group continued their ascent, finally reaching a hidden cave high in the mountains. Inside the cave, they found the shield of Ogun, a relic of immense power and significance. As Zola reached out to touch the shield, a vision flashed before her eyes. She saw the other relics, their locations, and the challenges that awaited them. With the shield secured, they began their descent from the mountains, their spirits high despite the arduous task that lay ahead. Their next destination was the great forest, where the staff of Orun awaited. Zola knew the path ahead would be fraught with danger, but with the shield of Ogun in their possession, they were one step closer to their goal. The fate of their village, and perhaps the entire world, rested on their shoulders, but they would not falter. Kofi looked at Zola with admiration and respect. Together, we will find the remaining relics and stop Ekwensu. Your strength and leadership guide us, and we are with you until the end. Zola met his gaze, her resolve unshaken. We will succeed, Kofi, for Esiama and for the future of our people. And so they continued their quest, the journey to the great forest and the relics that held the key to their world's salvation. The great forest loomed before them, a vast expanse of ancient trees and dense undergrowth. Zola, Kofi, and their companions stood at its edge, gazing into the shadowy depths. The air was thick with the scent of earth and foliage, and the sounds of unseen creatures echoed around them. The staff of Orun lies within, Zola said, her voice steady. We must remain vigilant. The forest is known for its illusions and traps. They entered the forest, moving cautiously through the underbrush. The path was winding and often obscured, but Zola's keen senses and Kofi's knowledge of the land guided them. Strange lights flickered in the distance, and whispers seemed to float on the wind, but they pressed on, undeterred by the eerie surroundings. As they ventured deeper, they encountered a group of forest dwellers, guardians of the ancient trees. These guardians were wary of outsiders, their eyes filled with suspicion. Zola stepped forward, her demeanor respectful yet resolute. We seek the staff of Orun, she explained. Our village is in danger and the staff is crucial to our quest. The leader of the guardians, an elder named Nia, regarded her thoughtfully. The staff is sacred and protected by powerful enchantments. Why should we trust you with such a relic? Zola spoke of their mission, of the dark forces threatening their land, and the need to prevent Ekwensu's return. Her words were sincere and filled with the weight of their responsibility. Naya listened, her expression softening. Very well, she said finally. We will guide you to the staff, but be warned, the path is fraught with challenges, and only the worthy may claim it. The guardians led them through a series of trials designed to test their strength, wisdom, and unity. They faced illusions that preyed on their fears, puzzles that required keen intellect, and physical challenges that pushed them to their limits. Zola and her companions worked together, their bond growing stronger with each trial. At last, they reached a clearing where the staff of Orun stood, embedded in a stone pedestal. The staff glowed with a soft ethereal light, its power palpable. Zola approached it cautiously, sensing the magic that surrounded it. As she reached out to grasp the staff, a figure emerged from the shadows, a dark spirit, a servant of Ekwensu, sent to thwart their efforts. The spirit's eyes burned with malevolence, and it attacked with ferocity. Zola and her companions fought valiantly, their weapons clashing with the spirit's dark energy. The battle was intense, the air crackling with power. Zola's spear struck true, but the spirit was resilient, driven by the dark force it served. Drawing on her inner strength, Zola summoned the power of the elements. Wind and fire converged, swirling around her as she fought. With a final powerful strike, she vanquished the spirit, its form dissipating into the air. Breathing heavily, Zola grasped the staff of Orun, feeling its power flow through her. The guardians nodded in approval, recognizing her worthiness. With the staff in hand, they made their way back through the forest, emerging into the sunlight once more. Their next destination was the Western Sea, where the Mask of Olokun lay hidden in underwater caves. They traveled swiftly, their determination unwavering. Upon reaching the coast, they were greeted by the sight of endless waves and a sky that seemed to stretch into infinity. The sea held its own challenges. Zola and her companions fashioned makeshift rafts and dove into the depths. In the depths, they found the entrance to the underwater caves. The caves were dark and filled with the echoes of the sea, their passages winding and confusing. Guided by intuition and the light of the staff, Zola led her group through the maze. Deep within the caves, they found the Mask of Olokun resting on a stone altar. The mask shimmered with a mystical glow, its surface adorned with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change. As Zola reached for the mask, another dark spirit materialized, more powerful than any they had faced before. The spirit's presence was overwhelming, its power nearly suffocating. It attacked with a fury, the force of its blows sending shock. Under the canopy of the stars, Zola and her companions stood at the outskirts of Isiyama, the relics of their ancestors pulsating with latent power. The time had come to confront Ekwensu, the spirit of chaos, before it could break free from its ancient prison and unleash devastation upon their world. They gathered in the center of the village, surrounded by the villagers who had stood by them throughout their journey. Chief Amara, adorned in ceremonial attire, spoke solemnly to the assembled crowd. "Today we face a threat unlike any we have encountered before," he began, his voice carrying across the quiet night. "But we are not alone. Zola, Kofi, and their companions have shown bravery, wisdom, and unwavering resolve. With the relics in their possession, they stand as our last line of defense." The villagers murmured in agreement, their faces a mix of fear and determination. Zola stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. She held the shield of Ogun, the staff of Orun, and the mask of Olokun, their energies humming in harmony with her own. "People of Isiyama," Zola began, her voice steady and strong. "We carry the burden of our ancestors' legacy. Ekwensu seeks to bring chaos and destruction, but we will not falter. With the power of these relics and our unity, we will banish Ekwensu back to its prison." The villagers cheered, their voices echoing into the night. With Chief Amara's blessing, Zola and her companions set out for the ancient ruins where Ekwensu's prison lay hidden, a crumbling temple nestled deep within the heart of the wilderness. The journey to the temple was fraught with tension, each step bringing them closer to their final confrontation. The air grew heavy with anticipation, the landscape transforming into a desolate wilderness, marked by eerie silence and the occasional rustling of unseen creatures. As they approached the temple ruins, a palpable sense of dread settled over them. The ancient stones loomed ominously, their weathered surfaces bearing silent witness to centuries of forgotten history. Zola led the way, her steps resolute and purposeful. Inside the temple, darkness cloaked the corridors, broken only by faint shafts of moonlight filtering through cracks in the ceiling. The air was thick with ancient magic, a reminder of the power that lay dormant within the depths. They ventured deeper into the temple, guided by the relic's subtle guidance. At the heart of the ruins, they found a chamber bathed in an eerie blue light, a rift in reality where Ekwensu's presence pulsed with malevolent intent. Ekwensu materialized before them, its form shifting and undulating like a shadow cast by unseen hands. Its eyes burned with a chaotic fire, its voice a chilling whisper that echoed through the chamber. "Who dares to challenge me?" Ekwensu's voice resonated, shaking the very foundation of the temple. Zola stepped forward, her voice unwavering. "I am Zola of Isiyama, guardian of these relics and protector of our land. You will not pass." Ekwensu laughed, a sound that sent shivers down their spines. "Foolish mortal, your relics cannot contain me. I am the embodiment of chaos, the bringer of destruction." With a wave of its hand, Ekwensu summoned dark tendrils of energy, twisting and coiling around them like serpents. Zola raised the shield of Ogun, its protective aura repelling the onslaught. Kofi and the warriors followed suit, their resolve unwavering despite the overwhelming odds. The battle raged on, a clash of wills and power that reverberated through the ancient temple. Zola and her companions fought with every ounce of strength and skill they possessed, their movements synchronized in a dance of defiance against the encroaching darkness. Drawing upon the relic's ancient power, Zola channeled the essence of Ogun, the warrior deity, into her spear. With a mighty thrust, she pierced Ekwensu's form, sending shockwaves of pure energy cascading through its ethereal body. Ekwensu howled in agony, its dark form dissipating into swirling shadows. The chamber trembled, its walls groaning under the strain of ancient magic unleashed. With a final burst of determination, Zola held aloft as the sun ascended over Esiyama, its rays banishing the last shadows of night. The village thrummed with activity. The echoes of their recent triumph still lingered in the air, a quiet reminder of the darkness they had overcome. Yet life in Esiyama marched forward, with the rhythm of daily routines grounding its people in the present. In the days following their epic confrontation, Zola found herself gravitating towards the village elders, seeking their wisdom for the governance of Esiyama. They gathered under the ancient baobab tree, its massive branches sprawling above like a protective canopy. "Zola," Elder Amina began, her voice rich with experience, "your deeds have woven a new tapestry into the fabric of our history. But the threads of peace are delicate. We must consider how to safeguard this peace for future generations." Zola nodded thoughtfully. "I have been considering the same, Elder Amina. We must fortify our village not just with walls, but with knowledge and alliances." Elder Kwame, a seasoned strategist, chimed in. "Indeed, alliances are vital. We should extend offers of friendship to our neighbors, perhaps even formalize agreements that ensure mutual protection and prosperity." The consensus was clear, and Zola took the elders' advice to heart. She tasked Kofi with organizing delegations to visit neighboring villages. Kofi embraced the role with his characteristic enthusiasm, seeing it as an opportunity to build a network of trust and cooperation. Meanwhile, Zola focused on strengthening the village from within. She organized training sessions for the villagers, not just in combat, but in skills that would bolster their self-sufficiency: agriculture, craftsmanship, and herbal medicine. She worked alongside the villagers, her hands as calloused as theirs, her spirit bolstered by their shared labor. One morning, as the village was bustling with the preparations for a delegation's departure, a runner arrived from the north. His appearance caused a stir, his chest heaving from exertion, his message urgent. "The village of Karamo seeks your help," he reported, gasping for air. "They have been plagued by floods, their crops are destroyed, and they are in dire need of aid." Without hesitation, Zola organized a contingent to deliver food and supplies to Karamo. She selected a few warriors and healers, including herself and Kofi, to make the trek north. As they approached Karamo, the evidence of devastation was apparent. Fields lay submerged under water, homes were damaged, and despair hung heavy in the air. The village chief, an old friend of Zola's father, greeted them with a mixture of relief and sorrow. "Zola, your arrival brings us hope in these dark times," the chief said, his voice weary. "We bring not only supplies but willing hands," Zola replied, gesturing to her companions. "Tell us where we are needed most." For days, Zola and her team worked alongside the people of Karamo. They repaired homes, built new flood defenses, and taught the villagers how to purify their water sources. Zola's knowledge of engineering, learned from the elders, proved invaluable. During their stay in Karamo, Zola took a moment to speak with Kofi by the river that had overflowed its banks. "These challenges remind us of the fragility of peace and prosperity," she mused. "We must be vigilant, not only against dark spirits but against the very elements of nature." Kofi nodded, watching the water flow past. "It's a reminder of our duty to be guardians not only of our own homes, but of our neighbors as well." When they returned to Esiyama, they were greeted with gratitude by the villagers, proud of their princess and her As the dry season cast its golden hue across the savannah, Esiyama reached a zenith of peace and prosperity previously unimagined. The village, once a solitary beacon of strength, had become a hub of alliances and a model of communal resilience. Under Zola's wise stewardship, the networks of cooperation stretched across the land, bringing stability and prosperity to all who joined them. On the eve of the Festival of the New Moon, a celebration that marked the close of the dry season and the anticipation of the rains that would nourish the earth, Esiyama was alive with energy. Lanterns hung from the trees, casting a warm glow on the faces of villagers and visitors alike, who gathered in great numbers to share in the festivities. Zola stood beside Kofi, overlooking the preparations. The air was filled with the aroma of cooking food, spiced meats and sweet fruits, mingling with the earthy scent of millet beer. Musicians tuned their instruments, their notes floating on the breeze like laughter. "This festival marks a new beginning," Zola remarked to Kofi, her eyes reflecting the flicker of lanterns. "Not just for Esiama, but for all our allies." Kofi nodded, his face wearing the soft smile that always appeared when he was particularly proud. "Your vision has brought us here, Zola, from the shadows of chaos to the light of peace. It's a new era." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the festival began. Drummers beat their drums with a rhythm that seemed to echo the heartbeat of the earth itself. Dancers moved fluidly, their bodies telling stories of hardship and triumph, of battles fought and friendships forged. During the height of the celebration, Zola was called to the center of the village square. The crowd parted respectfully, their cheers mingling with the drums. Elder Amina stepped forward, her hands clasped over a cloth-covered object. "Princess Zola," she began, her voice carrying over the crowd, "your leadership has guided us through darkness and into light. We, the elders and your people, wish to present you with this token of our gratitude and respect." She unveiled the object, revealing a staff intricately carved from ebony wood, its top adorned with an amethyst stone. The stone caught the light of the moon, casting a purple glow that seemed almost magical. "This staff represents your authority and our faith in your wisdom," Elder Amina continued. "May it guide you as you have guided us." Touched, Zola accepted the staff, feeling its weight and warmth. "I am deeply honored," she addressed the crowd, her voice steady despite the emotion she felt. "This staff will not only be a symbol of my authority, but of our unity. Each of you contributes to the strength of Isayama, and I am merely the custodian of our collective will." Cheers erupted from the crowd, their admiration for their princess as palpable as the evening warmth. The festival continued into the night, a celebration of life, renewal, and community. Later, as the revelry ebbed and the moon hung low in the sky, Zola and Kofi walked along the river that bordered Esiama. The water was a ribbon of silver in the moonlight, mirroring the tranquility of the night. As the season of the great harvest receded, giving way to the cooler whispers of the coming dry period, Isiama thrived under Zola's leadership. Her mornings were spent walking through the marketplace, where the fruits of their labor filled the stalls with vibrant colors and the air with spicy aromas. Each step she took among her people strengthened the bonds of community and leadership. One crisp morning, as the sun rose higher, bathing the village in warm light, a young boy ran up to Zola, his eyes wide with excitement. "Princess Zola," he panted, holding out a crumpled piece of parchment. "A message from the northern lands." Zola took the parchment, unfolding it carefully. The message was from a distant village that had heard of Esiama's prosperity and sought an alliance. The village, though rich in mineral resources, was plagued by bandits and needed help to secure their perimeters. "Prepare a council meeting," Zola instructed her aide, her mind already weaving through strategies and plans. "We must discuss how best to support our northern neighbors." Later, as the elders and advisors gathered under the baobab tree, Zola presented the message. "This is an opportunity to extend our protection and gain valuable allies," she explained. "However, we must ensure that we do not spread our resources too thinly." Elder Amina raised an important point. "We must also consider the training of more warriors and perhaps even innovate our defense tactics. It's not only about numbers, but also about skill and knowledge." The discussion was intense and productive, with every voice heard and every concern considered. By the end, a decision was reached to send a small contingent to assess the situation in the north and report back before any further actions were taken. Days later, Zola and Kofi, along with a team of their best warriors and strategists, set out for the northern village. As they arrived, they were struck by the stark contrast between the village's rich land and the palpable fear among its people. The village chief, a stern woman named Lila, welcomed them warmly. "Your reputation precedes you, Princess Zola. We are grateful for your presence." Zola assured her, "We are here to help. First, we need to understand your challenges better." Over the next few days, Zola and her team worked closely with Lila and her people. They conducted thorough assessments of the village's defenses and provided training sessions to the local guards. Zola's expertise in strategy and Kofi's skill in training were well received, and soon the village began to see a transformation. One evening, as they sat around a fire, Lila shared stories of the region's history and the origins of the bandit attacks. "These lands are cursed," she said, half joking, "rich in resources but marred by conflict." Zola listened intently, her mind always working. "Perhaps the curse can be lifted," she mused, "not just through strength but through unity and a shared vision." The days turned into weeks, and the northern village began to stabilize. With Esayama's support, they improved their fortifications and trained their people, not only in combat, but also in ways to leverage their resources more effectively, without attracting unwanted attention. As Zola prepared to return to Esayama, Lila expressed her deep gratitude. "You have not only helped us fortify, but have taught us to believe in our strength. We look forward to a lasting alliance with Esayama." Back in Esayama, the results of their mission were celebrated. The success in the north had proven that Zola's policies of outreach and support were not only noble but effective. The alliances formed under her guidance promised a brighter future for all involved. Meanwhile, Kofi took on more responsibilities, his natural leadership skills coming to the forefront. He coordinated between the villages, ensuring that communication lines were kept open and support systems were functioning well. The harmony between Esayama and its allies grew, fostering a network of trade, knowledge exchange, and mutual defense. The stories of their collective strength and prosperity spread far and wide, drawing more villages into their fold, eager to be part of a community that thrived on cooperation and mutual respect. As the dry season approached, bringing with it new challenges and opportunities, Zola stood by the baobab tree, reflecting on the growth and stability they had nurtured. With Kofi by her side and the support of her people, she felt ready to face whatever the future might hold. Their efforts had sown seeds of peace and prosperity, which they hoped would flourish across the lands, a testament to the power of unity and shared vision.